So to begin this video, we are looking at lesson 2 on page 6 with number 3. Because our A is 9 and not 1, we're going to try to see if we have a greatest common factor. We do not. So the first thing we have to do is find our magic numbers. So to find our magic numbers, we're going to use the big X method. Remember, our big X method is A times C to get our product, and still our B is going to be our sum. So in this problem, we have a 144 when we multiply 9 and 16, and we have our negative 24. Now our magic numbers are going to be 12 and 12. But we want this 24 to be negative. So we want negative 12 and negative 12 as our magic numbers. So in this one, it does not matter which order we put our magic numbers in because it's the same number. So we have a 9x squared minus 12x minus 12x plus 16. The reason why we want to do this is so that we can group them together. So then we can factor. So if we group these, we have 9x squared minus 12x in one group. Then we have negative 12x plus 16 in another group. Now pause the video to see if you can find a greatest common factor in the first group. You should have found that your greatest common factor in the first group is 3x. Once you find your greatest common factor, you divide it out. So you have 3x on the outside, and you have 9x squared divided by 3x to get you a 3x. Then you have a negative 12x divided by 3x, which gets you a negative 4. The same thing needs to happen with the second group. Your greatest common factor is 4. Now, when you divide this out, you have 4 on the outside, and then you have a negative 3x plus 4. Now remember in the other videos that we needed our repeating parentheses to match up. In this one we do not. So what if we came in here and multiplied the whole second group by negative 1? Would this give us our repeating parentheses? It would. So this whole parentheses would end up negative 4 times positive 3x subtract 4. And then we would have our 3x minus 4 and our 3x minus 4 matching. So once we have this, we have our repeating parentheses by themselves. And then we would have our greatest common factors, which was now negative 4 and 3x in their own parentheses. So we have a 3x minus 4. Now we have our factored form. We do not have our solution yet. Once we get here, we can set up each of our parentheses equal to 0. So we're going to have a 3x minus 4 equal to 0. We can do this twice, but we don't need to because they are the same thing. So we're going to add 4 to get 3x equals 4, and we're going to have x equals 4 over 3 because we're going to divide that 3. So our solution will be x equals 4 over 3. Now for number 8 on the same page, number 6 for lesson 2, we have the word problem. The length of a rectangle garden is 5 feet more than its width, which here is represented. The area of the garden is 176 square feet. what are the length and the width of the garden? So first we have this. Now for the area, we know that we have our width times our length, which is W plus 5. And we are given that it equals 176 feet. Now I'm going to simplify this left side. W squared plus 5W equals 176. Now to create the equation, I want to make this 0. So I'm going to subtract the 176 from both sides to make it W squared plus 5W minus 176 equals 0. Now for calculator purposes, I'm going to change all of my W's to X's. And I'm going to change my 0 to Y. And that is my equation. Now for factored form. My factored form, I need to find my magic numbers to create 2 parentheses. So I'm going to do my big X method. My product is negative 176. My sum is 5. 2 numbers that multiply together to get that negative 176, but also add to give me 5, is 16 and negative 11. So in my parentheses, I have X minus 11 and X plus 16. And this would be my factored form. Now for my solution, I would have W or X equals, again, we would have to come up here and do the same thing that we did up here. So we have X minus 11 equals 0. We also have X plus 16 equals 0. So you subtract the 16, subtract the 16. Over here you would add the 11, and you would get positive 11 and negative 16. Now if you look back at our problem though, it says, what are the length and the width of the garden? So our W or X only represented our width. So we cannot use negative 16 as our width because it's not a true measurement, because we can't have a negative measurement. So now that we have found 11, we are going to come back to this right here and solve for our length. So our W is going to equal 11, and we're going to substitute in all of the values now that we know for our area, our length, and our width. So area was 176. Our length we still do not know. And our width we now know is 11. So 176 divided by 11 gives us 16. And that is our answer. So our solution would be 11 and positive 16. Now, for page 7. Page 7, we are looking at problem 4 first. Problem 4 is asking us to give us the factored form. Our factored form, we need to first simplify what is given. So everything needs to be put on the same side. So I'm going to subtract my 5, and I'm also going to add my 5x, So I end up with 2x squared plus 4x plus x plus 2 equals 0. Now, how I got this, we would have just had 5x right here. but I went on ahead and did my big X method. I would have had 5 over here, and then my 7 minus 5 gave me 4 as my product. So over here I would have 4 and 1, and that is where my 4 and my understood 1 is coming from. So I want to group my first and my second term together. I also want to group my third and my fourth term together. In my first group, my greatest common factor is going to be 2x. 2x squared divided by 2x gives me x. 4x divided by 2x gives me just 2. In my second group, even though my greatest common factor is 1, I still have to bring out that 1 as my greatest common factor, because once we have completed that group, that 1 now becomes a plus 1 to my 2x. So we have our repeating parentheses, and then that 1 and that 2x comes together. Please do not forget to bring out that 1. That 1 is not understood in this scenario. You have to have it to bring it down to the parentheses. So our factored form is x plus 2 times 2x plus 1. Now our solutions, we have to set each parentheses from our factored form equal to 0. So we would have x equals negative 2. So we have x equals negative 2. And our other solution is coming from the 2x plus 1 equals 0. We're going to have minus 1, and then we're going to divide it by 2. So we're going to have negative 1 half.